Hey guys, just wanted to give an idea about a recipe for a nootropic coffee that would have an immense amount of synergy, both in terms of flavor, in terms of how the ingredients affect the caffeine's effects, in terms of how the ingredients impact each other. So the idea is to have a coffee that has coffee derived and creamer derived milk derived nootropics in it. The recipe for the creamer would contain lactate, not lactic acid, but just the straight up base or conjugate of it. It would also contain cholesterol, milk phospholipids, and I think there's one other thing that might not be in there right now. I'll get to the point of these in a second. The coffee would be coffee fruit infused because it gives the coffee... Oh man, I can't think of the name of the acid. Sorry, I'm so tired. So let's start with the creamer, what it does. Lactate has actually been shown to be one of the main fuels for the brain. There's studies showing preference for it over glucose in fast-firing neurons, as well as in oligodendrocytes, as well as during the most energy-intensive situations. For example, if you injure somebody and you give them IVs of lactate and glucose, they'll choose the lactate first. So basically, this is just a way of providing energy for the brain. It's probably a lot better than the sugar traditionally used in coffee. Oh, I know the other thing, butter it. So we'll get to that in a second. And there's actually studies on pairing yogurt and caffeine that have shown basically that has similar effects to sugar, but that doesn't cause a crash. One of the main causes of crash in energy drinks is the high glucose content. This gives an alternative form of fuel that is both better for filling brain processes and likely does not result in a crash later. The second ingredient that's a milk-derived nootropic is cholesterol. It's derived from colostrum and it mediates a lot of the brain effects. It's actually not that well known of a supplement, but in terms of the level of evidence, it's one of the few supplements that has clinical level results for Alzheimer's, and is marketed by doctors. Sorry, it also has very strong antioxidant effects. The third milk-based nootropic is milk phospholipids. So this is basically a choline source, but what's really interesting about it is probably a very powerful choline source because it's the choline source that fuels brain development, as well as a source of other phospholipids. Now this denatures at high temperatures. There's ways of stabilizing it, but this would probably start out as a cold brew coffee just because it's simplest. When it denatures, it turns into a fishy taste, which is bad, although we could add a sigma agonist in, which would block these taste receptors if that was necessary. But this would probably start out cold brew. And finally, we have the butter. This has an issue with how it affects the taste as well, but we'll get to that in a second. First of all, let's look at the ingredients we've already added in and what they do. Two of these ingredients actually positively impact the taste of the coffee if they're used correctly. The lactate would buffer the acidity. The second known negative taste attribute of coffee is bitterness. Milk phospholipids turn out to block bitterness sensing on the tongue. So not only would this have nootropic effects, but it would be improving the taste. Now, in addition... Hold on, I'm going to pause because